Hi guys, welcome to Nutrition 101 today. We're going to dive into it in just a moment, but we just wanted to take a moment just to say that this information is general information that is specifically for Cancer Fit Australia members who have been assessed by a medical oncologist. So the information here, as I said, it's general. It's really important that before you start any changes or diet or start to put any of this into action, that it's important that you have a chat with some of the Cancer Fit staff or your treating team, so we can just make sure that it's specific and works for you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Nutrition 101. So the title I made it 101 is because it's very basic. But like a lot of things, if you do the basic well, you can achieve a lot. Question, what makes a good diet? And do I have a good diet? Let's start with that one. So what makes a good diet? Well, it depends on what your objective is. So if your objective is to improve your body composition and you are currently not happy with the way you look or the way your body composition is, then in my opinion, you don't have a good diet for your purpose, for your goal. Okay. If your purpose is to feel energetic, overall health, and you feel that already, you don't feel lethargic when you eat and you sleep very well, then maybe you have a reasonable diet for yourself. Okay, it's very individual. What is the best diet for me? Well, you're gonna have to figure it out. Number one, what is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? And what actually works for you? Because there are a million diets out there, and every year there's a new one coming out. It's like the fashion show. But how many people do you know that stick to a way of eating or diet for more than 12 months? Okay? Whatever you're eating right now is your current diet because it works for you. It works within your lifestyle and you don't have to try very hard. That works in the sense of like you can manage it, but might not fit within your goal. So you're gonna have to find a diet that works both for your goal and also for your lifestyle. Before I go on, there's no such a thing as cancer diet. Let's just get that one out of the way. Some people promote vegan diet, some people promote intermittent fasting, low carb, no sugar, GMO free, gluten free. There's a lot of things that link to cancer. There's also evidence to support it, also evidence to bash it. Like there's no cancer diet. So stop buying supplements that can promise you that they're gonna help with your cancer. Okay, so best diet is the one that you can take it with you anywhere and fit within your lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, for your body to change, if you're from a diet perspective, it takes time. And when I say it takes time, it doesn't take a week or two. It takes maybe 12, maybe 20, maybe 30 weeks for your body to gradually change. Just like the way you do your training. You don't expect yourself to completely change after one training session or 10 training sessions. It's an ongoing thing. And over the period of 12 months, you enjoy the process, you enjoy the training session. The same way you can enjoy the process of sticking to a healthy eating diet or habits, and it works within your lifestyle. And that's when you see change over time. Okay, this is a very, very simple topic, but a confusing one for a lot of people. Weight loss versus body composition. Now let's start with body composition. What is body composition? Body comp is simply your lean muscle mass versus your body fat ratio. Obviously, the more lean muscle mass you have, the less body fat you have, the better is your body composition. That means for a guy, you look more muscular, you're probably going to have a six-pack, you look shredded. For a female, you can have nice shoulders, nice back definition, lean legs, all that stuff. You don't necessarily have a six-pack because it takes a lot lower body fat percentage for a female to get six-pack, so don't have to worry about that. This one, weight loss. What does it mean? Numbers going down on the scale. Has nothing to do with the way you look, okay? You can still look like crap, but you'll be very skinny according to the scale. So this one, hit and miss. You could have a very low body fat and look like shit. This one, you can have the same body weight on the scale. You get tons of compliments. People think you have transformed your life. Which one would you rather?
Okay, so now we're going to have a look at a really important concept, which is lean muscle mass. So it links in particularly with body composition and weight loss. So lean muscle mass is just what it says, is just the part of your body that is just muscle. And so you can have the difference with, so looking at body composition and then lean muscle mass, is you can have someone that maybe is a similar weight or even a similar size, but if they've got a more lean muscle mass, you can see here, there's not as much fat mass here, there's a lot more lean muscle mass. Then you've got over here, similar size shape, but you can see all this area here is fat mass. You've only got a little bit of lean muscle mass. So, and you kind of go, well, they're a similar size, why does it really matter? It comes into real importance when you're looking at your basal metabolic rate, so BMR. Why do you care about that? So basal metabolic rate is how many calories or how much energy your body burns just by being alive, so just at rest. Now, when you have a higher lean muscle mass, your muscle mass is a big user of energy. So the more of you that is lean muscle mass, the higher your ability to burn energy just by being there. So you make yourself an energy burning machine. There's always a balance going on in your body of building muscle mass and also breakdown. So things like having a diet that doesn't have enough energy or is poor in protein. Also things like chemotherapy, sitting around, so not being active enough. All of this puts your body in a state of more breakdown than there's building. When you're doing things like strength training, like we're doing here, you're putting your body in more of a building state. So you're going to be moving yourself towards more of this. So more of you is lean muscle mass. You're going to be reducing the fat mass, taking that down, and you're going to be increasing your body's ability to burn energy just by being at rest. So just continuing on with the lean muscle mass and linking it back in terms of the body composition, and Rob was mentioning how you can have someone who is a similar weight, or two people who are very similar weights but look very different. And a way and thinking about the lean muscle mass with that, so because lean muscle mass is more dense and heavier, you can have, so for example, like you might have this battery is heavier but it's smaller versus this eraser, which is bigger but it's lighter. So this is heavier. So the scale, if you weighed this by going by scale, you would think that this is the bad one, it's heavier, versus this one, this is the better one, it's lighter. But if you look, they're completely different shapes. This one is the one that's more small, more compact, will also work a lot better, it's a battery, but then also versus this one, it's bigger and it's lighter and it's fluffier. So the scale isn't necessarily going to tell you what looks the best, what functions the best, and what will work the best for you.
Okay, while we're on the topic of BMR, your BMR, everyone's BMR, let's have a look at something that you can do very easily right now, probably, if you got one of these little device, Fitbit or anything similar to that, if you've got a Garmin watch, anything that tracks your daily activity, you can maximize the device that you have. Most of these devices come with an app, okay? And after speaking to a few of our members, most people don't actually use the app to its full extent. Okay, so a few things you can track. You can track your steps, which everybody's tracking. You should also track the estimated daily calorie expenditures that you're doing, and the app is telling you. Now, it's not about the accuracy of the measurement, it's about the consistency of the measurement. If you consistently use the Fitbit, or in my case, to track my daily, weekly, monthly, yearly calorie expenditure, then I can have a pretty good idea about what my food intake should be like, depending on my goal. Okay, so let's have a look at my own calories from my app. Right now I just extracted on the board here. So December 14 to December 20 in a week, my calorie output for that week was 25,794. And December 7th, the week before that, to December 13th, my weekly calorie expenditure according to my Fitbit is 26,395. They're pretty similar, okay? I wouldn't say there's a huge difference, but there is a bit of a difference, okay? Now, if my goal is to lose body fat for the next, say, 6 months, then I'm on track in a way. Well, I'm not on track actually, because I have a bit of a less of a calorie expenditure, right? Okay, so really I want that number to be at least like 26,000 something, or maybe a little bit higher than that. Okay, it might not seem like a lot, but over time it makes a difference. And also, if I'm also keeping track of my nutrition, my food intake, if I'm eating more in this week, the 14th to the 20th week, then I'm eating more, I'm less active, then chances are my body might not have any change for that week. Not necessarily I'm going to put on any body fat, but there might not be any micro progress that is happening in my body that I cannot physically see yet. Okay, so Fitbit is very handy, so use it. The other thing is very cool about these trackers is your sleep. So your sleep is also very important, because that's when your body regenerates, how you recover. So good sleep is very, very important when it comes to overall health, but also to improve your body composition. Okay, and if you're trying to lose body fat, it's very important. Having poor sleep, you really reduce your chance of losing body fat. Your body doesn't like that. Now, the super sophisticated diagram. Okay, so now we're looking at, this is a scale, all right? We're talking about balance. In blue, we've got 0 here. It means 0 change. No weight loss, no muscle mass loss, nothing. So we've got calorie over here in blue, activity level over here on the right-hand side in blue, balance 0. Nothing changes. Okay, now I'm going to show you where most people sit. If you find yourself continuously putting on weight and you don't lose it, then you are over here in red. Calorie plus 100. I mean, that value means nothing. I'm just putting a value out there to show you something, prove a point. Your calorie is way too high. And because your calorie is way too high, and also you're not active or you're not doing much, your activity level is negative 100, right here. Okay? Guess what? You eat too much, you're not active enough, you're gonna put on weight. Okay? Doesn't matter what diet you're following, vegan, intermittent fasting, 5-2, GMO-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, whatsoever. You are eating way too much and not moving enough. Now, this happens with, I think, a lot of males actually, because males drink a lot. That's my experience. Females drink too, but males drink a lot. But the interesting thing is, this is happening with a lot of females in black here. Calorie, negative 100. Activity, plus 100, if not 1,000. The point here is the females are so worried about not eating too much, okay, and being super active. They literally, by talking to people here at Cancer Fit, we got people doing boot camp sessions, doing boxing sessions, doing circuit training, doing weight training, going for a walk, going for a run, going for a hike. It's like every day they got something going on for an extended period of like hour or two sometimes, right? Super intense, super active all the time, 7 days a week, okay? Over here, activity, 1,000 or 100. Calories, small portions of like chicken breast, maybe a bit of lentils. Having a salad for dinner, we want to eat light. Calorie negative 100. And they think, I should be losing weight. And they did. 6 months ago, or 6 years ago, they lost a kilo. And since then, they have lost big zero. Why? Because your body is constantly in a starvation mode in trying to recover. You don't give yourself enough fuels to actually recover and improve. Hence comes the body composition change or the weight loss or the fat loss, all that stuff. Okay? Now, what do you actually really need to do? It's a lot less and less crazy as well than what you think it is this thing here in green. Calories and activity, dotted line here. So if I put my marker here, this is the thing that needs to change. So really what you need to do is, if this is a balanced scale, all you need to do sometimes, for the most people, is just to tip the scale a little bit. Tiny bit. Okay? Now, what happens when you tip a tiny bit? People think magic's gonna happen. No, there's no magic. It takes a little bit of time. Once you tip the scale, which means calories is slightly less, activity is slightly more, your weight in silence. You continue to do what you do, give yourself about 2 weeks, and that's when you notice some change. Some people about 10 days, 10 to 14 days is when you start to see slight change, minimal change is what you're looking for. You're not looking for dramatic drop numbers on the scale, dramatic lose in your dress size, none of that. Okay, that's called a magic pill. That's not what we're trying to promote here. Okay, tiny bit of change, but it's consistent change. Okay, if you lost 0.4 of gram of a body fat every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks for the next 12 months, I think you'll look pretty different. Okay, and yes, that number might not mean a lot in terms of how many grams of fat you've lost, but remember, a muscle is can be very small and very dense. So really, we're looking for appearance change. That's going to play a huge factor if that's what you're looking for. So general rule of thumb: if you're female and you find yourself already eating very low calorie and nothing's changing, you're probably here. You're way under eating and way overactive. Okay, male or female, if you say to yourself, why don't I lose any weight and I already have a good diet and I constantly put on more weight, is also the key here, you're probably here. Okay, I'm being very general here. Okay, unless we speak to you individually, we're not going to know what could be your issue. But as a rule of thumb, females tend to be here, guys tend to be here. Because what guys think is, a lot of the guys I've spoken to is, I got a big lunch today, I'm going to have a half bottle of wine or a whole bottle of wine, I'll just train hard tomorrow. Yeah, and they end up in here. I do that myself sometimes. So it's pretty common. Okay, let's start with some basic macronutrients. So there are 3 types of macronutrients, or macros we call it. You need to keep an eye on when you are tracking your food. Okay, we've got protein, we've got your fats, and we've got your carbohydrate intake. okay? Now, each one of these macronutrients per gram has a calorie value added to it. So 4 calories per gram for protein, 9 calories per gram for fat, and 4 calories per gram for carbohydrate. Now, one of the things I think people believe that, hey, if I want to lose body fat, I better eat less fat. It's probably because there are high calories per gram if you eat fat. I think that's probably people think that's going to work. And yes and no, it does work a little bit initially, but eventually it doesn't work. And actually having a very low-fat diet is actually not good, not healthy for you. Okay. Okay. Between the three macronutrients, usually when we're planning for a personalized food plan or tracking, protein, which is I have circled in red here, is usually constant. This is like the main piece of your diet. You do not want to change too much. Or if you are going to change it, is the last thing you're going to manipulate. Okay? So I'm talking about nutrition just the same way we're talking about your training. It's the same thing. You know, you eat certain amount of food, certain types of food, the calories, your body is going to respond. You do certain exercise in a certain manner, your body is going to respond, okay? And all that, it takes time. So we are having a bit of a planning, if you will, before you start the diet part. The fat intake and the carbohydrate intake are the two things that you're going to play around the most. Sometimes, you know, you might want your carbohydrate to be low. Sometimes you want your carbohydrate to be slightly higher. And initially you probably want to keep your fat intake constant to promote like overall health, right? But for a very brief period of time, you might want to reduce your fat intake. So all these variables are constantly changing, and they should be constantly changing, because just like a training plan, if you're doing the same thing, you will not get different results. Okay, initially you will see change, but in the long term, you will not see change. Not the change that you're after, which is significantly reduce your body fat and improve your body composition.
Okay, so we're just going to talk a little bit more about protein. So as Rob said, it's understanding that we want this to be kind of the primary building block of the diet. So because it's the one that we want to be kind of keeping the same, we want to understand a little bit more about it. So as we mentioned before, having adequate protein intake is really important for building that lean muscle mass and having those positive changes in body composition. So, and as we said, there's always a balance of the protein building, and there's always a balance of the protein breakdown, and that's normal. So when you start doing resistance training, you're causing a little bit of protein breakdown, and that stimulates the body to then be starting to synthesize and build new protein. So to make sure it has enough resources in the body to build that protein while it's in that phase of building, you need to be having adequate protein intake. So the other good thing about protein is, particularly if you're thinking about balancing your calories in and your calories out, managing those feelings of hunger is really important. So having foods that are higher in protein helps you feel fuller for longer, so having that sense of satiety. The other thing about protein is versus foods that are higher in fat versus carbohydrates, your body actually has to use more energy to break down protein and put it into its energy sources. So when you eat protein, it is using more energy to access the energy that's in it. Now, so thinking about protein, we need to be eating it. It does really important things in our bodies. Well, how much should you be eating? So in terms of the guidelines that we have from COSA, we're looking at 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So this is on the lower side, and this is probably more for people who aren't as regularly active, but certainly for people who are engaging in strength training and are looking to build up lean muscle mass, Certainly if you've come off the back of things like chemotherapy or other things that might be pulling down your lean muscle mass and you're wanting to build it, moving more towards the 2 grams is what we'd like to be doing. So, okay, 1.5 to what does that actually mean? So if we plug that into a little bit of an equation, we're looking at, say for example, you had a 70 kilo person. Using this, you'd be then using a 2 grams is looking at about 140 grams of protein every day that you're eating. So 140 grams, what does that actually look like? Now, it's important to understand that a gram of beef, a gram of chicken, or a gram of tofu are not all pure protein. They have different amounts in them. So if you eat a chicken breast and say that's like 200 grams, that's not 200 grams of protein. When we're actually looking at it, you could have 450 grams of protein, so that's about 450 grams of raw chicken. That's probably like 2.5 chicken breasts. That is going to giving you about the 140 grams. So that's actually quite a lot of chicken. And you think, oh, most of us might not necessarily be eating that much. But when you're aiming to build towards this 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight every day to make sure that you have enough protein to be building as you're wanting to, you're looking at about 450 grams of this raw chicken. So, or another example could be roughly 630 grams of raw beef. Now, don't freak out and think you have to eat that every day. Because of the different foods that you eat, other foods will have protein in it. But if, for just a pure example of what getting 140 grams of protein would actually look like, it would look like 450 grams of chicken breast or 630 grams of beef.
So I'm going to give you guys 2 key principles to improve your body composition, to lose body fat. They're very simple principles. Those are the principles that you can keep it with you. It applies to everything you do when it comes to food. Now, those principles, they butt head. They contradict each other sometimes, okay? Okay, number 1, calories in, calories out. And a lot of people out there, that's all they care about. In and out, okay? If I eat less, I must lose. Not true. If I eat more, I must gain. Can be true, but not always true. Depends on number of factors, okay? Number 1, calorie in, calorie out. So if you only follow this principle, in and out, you will get some results, but nothing's long term. Initially, you will get some results, okay? Because what this does is looking at the short term. So you're investing in the next only month or 2, maybe 3. Principle number 2, we're looking at your BMR, which we have talked about before. Oh, BMR, like that. Okay, so this is going to help you do most of the work while you're sleeping. So this is short-term investment, this is passive income, long-term investment if you're into your investments, okay? So this means that your body is increasing its calorie expenditure while you are at rest. So while you're sleeping, money's coming in, ching ching, right? That's what you want, but this is also something that you want. You want to have the initial boost of results, and you have ongoing, sustainable, continuous results, okay? This requires lean muscle mass. This only requires a decrease in calorie or an increase in activity, or sometimes both, okay? Don't just focus on one, you need both. Most people tend to only focus on this one, and that is why you are not seeing continuous and consistent results coming your way. So now I'm going to give you the secret formula, the $1 million formula to give you a successful experience when you want to lose body fat and improve your body composition. Okay, so those are the three things you want to keep in mind at all times when you're doing it. Okay, number one, calories. You got to watch the calories. Okay, now you want your calorie intake. This is on a, let's say take a 9-month period. I really want to stretch this out, because the longer you do this, the more slowly you do this, the more sustainable and long-lasting it's going to be. It's about patience. Okay, quick results don't last very long. Okay, so over the long period of time, you want your calorie to be less than your expenditure. Okay, so eating a little bit less generally is going to give you a long-lasting result when it comes to maintaining a body weight that you want, or maintaining the body fat that you want. Okay. Formula number two, your calorie intake for that period of time, you don't want it to be below your BMR for an extended period of time. Okay, so there will be times, a very short period, where you are eating below your BMR for the purpose of shocking the body. It's a zap. It's not a beating like that, a zap. Okay, I'm talking about maybe 2 weeks max. Okay, 1 week sometimes. Okay, so don't beat yourself like that. So you want to be, you don't want to be below your BMR for too long. Okay. Number three, you want to have a healthy BMR, because let's say you'll stay on a strict nutrition plan or diet plan for lasting, having a healthy BMR throughout the process, but most importantly, on the other end of it. Okay. At the end of the day, nobody wants to be dieting for the rest of their life. That's boring. Okay, you got to enjoy life sometimes, most of the time. So, you want to keep a healthy BMR during the process, because that is going to help you speed up the process. Okay, by having more lean muscle mass, by having adequate calorie intake, by having adequate protein intake. This is how you're going to maintain a healthy BMR. On the other end of it, you want to have built a reasonable amount of lean muscle mass on yourself, so you can increase the BMR ongoing, even though you are not in this restrictive calorie intake mode anymore. You have a bit of more up and down fluctuation in your weekly diet, your food intake. You can go for that restaurant meal with your friends, that 5-8 course degustation, have a bit of wine every now and then. That's all going to be okay, because you have a healthy BMR, because you understand that you are not constantly eating way below your BMR, nor do you constantly having this very super low calorie intake. Once you understand the concept, it's a lot more manageable, and you don't want to have this massive rebound. Okay, you don't want to improve, be in the best body shape of your life, and just have a massive rebound and put everything back on, because you really stuffed up your BMR during the process. And you see that with people a lot. Okay, the more extreme they go, the harder they rebound on the other end of it, and you don't want to do that. Okay, that's actually not healthy. Health comes first, and then comes the appearance, the body composition. Now, if you are eating a low calorie diet, 500 calorie diet, and let's say you see some change, lost 2 kilos in the first 2 weeks, what happens? People go, oh yeah, I'll keep doing this. I'll keep starving myself, and who cares? I'll just keep losing it, because I got a beach holiday coming in 4 weeks. This is what's going to happen to you if you continuously are following this kind of a low calorie diet. Your progress is going to stop, because at the end of the day, your body is not stupid. Okay, it's not going to just continuously lose. You're going to feel tired all the time. Okay, you might get a bit moody too, because you're hungry. Recovery will slow down. Actually, recovery might just stop, period. Okay, because what are you recovering with? there is no nutrient for you to recover. It's like you dig a hole in your backyard and you go, now fill it up. But you dumped the soil already. The soil is somewhere else now. So what are you going to fill it up the hole with? Nothing. Okay? Your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, is going to decrease significantly. Okay? So that long-term investment, that early retirement that you're thinking about, that passive income, gone. None of that. Okay? And you're going to lose muscle, for sure. Okay? That 2 kilos that you've lost, or that 3 kilos you have lost in total in a period of 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a third of it is muscle. You lose muscle, you'll reduce your ability to burn calories at rest, you'll feel tired, lethargic, you might get moody, definitely have poor sleep because your body's in shutdown mode, okay? And you probably are frustrated because you're not seeing any more results. And it worked, but everything works, but nothing works forever. That's just another thing you got to understand, especially when it comes to training and food and nutrition. By the way, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so we've talked a lot about understanding nutrition. We've talked about a few new terms, and a key one you probably are wanting to understand a little bit more about is BMR, the basal metabolic rate. So, and how you actually figure that out and then use that moving forward. So, can you tell us, Rob, about figuring out the BMR?
Okay, there are a lot of formulas out there for BMR, okay? And at the end of the day, it is an estimated number that you are working off. So like, once again, go back to what I was going on about the Fitbit. It's not about the accuracy so much about the tracking initially. It's about the consistency, okay? Now, what I would recommend you doing, how you set up this whole thing is start by having an estimated number of BMR. So what is your BMR? So there are so many websites you can go onto in the internet and Google the BMR calculator. And I think one of the things I use was called Reverse Benedict or something like that. So essentially you put in your age, your gender, your weight. Don't use the body fat percentage because that's another variable in there, but body weight in kilograms, and your activity level. If you're training twice a week in the gym, then you put in, you select the appropriate activity level, and it spits out a calorie, okay? And let's just say for today, we're going to use that calorie, we want that calorie to be, I don't know, let's say 2,300 calories. And that's my BMR. Okay, well, let's say that's Bronte's BMR. Okay. And obviously this already takes into account Bronte's training in the gym twice a week. Okay? Now, is that accurate? Probably not. Does it matter? No, it doesn't. Okay? What you want to be doing is start by eating 2,300 calorie worth of food every day. And do it for 2 weeks. And see what happens. Okay? Either nothing changes, okay, which means this is pretty accurate in terms of your BMR, or for Bronte anyway, or you might have lost, 300 grams, which means you're either giving your body a kind of restored with enough nutrient, your body's recovering. So if you lost 300 grams in 2 weeks, great. Do it for another week. See what happens. If you do it for another week and you start putting it on, then you probably know, okay, so 2 weeks ago, I was under eating. Then I ate my BMR, then I recovered by losing 300 grams of, say, body fat. Then I overate. Okay, then you have something to work on. Then you go, okay, so you can either increase your activity level by then and eating the same, or you can reduce the calorie intake a little bit, depending on what game you're playing. You're playing a long term or you're playing a short term. Okay. Generally, I would advise, if that's what you see, you want eat more, try more, eat more, try more, eat more, try more. Because then what you're doing is you are increasing this BMR all the way up. And it's a lot easier on the back end for you to drop body fat. Okay? I think I've gone through 2 points already. So your exercise frequency as well. Like when I say eat more, try more, it's not necessarily, hey, smash yourself every single session, because what you're looking for is your weekly activity level. So, it could mean that you still keep training twice a week in the gym, but you just do a few more steps. If you've got a Fitbit, if right now you're averaging 8,000 steps per day, maybe go to 10,000 steps per day. If you're averaging 10, go to 12. And you do that for 7 days a week. And believe it or not, it makes a difference. Okay? It makes all these small increments, small changes that you're making on a daily basis has an effect, a positive effect on your game plan. Okay? Anything else?
So if we could have a little bit of an idea. So we've gone through, we've done the calculator, we've got a bit of an idea of where our BMR is sitting, and we're kind of doing maybe some little bit of changes to see how we respond. In terms of then going from there, how do we go, like in terms of expecting changes? How long would we wait for changes to occur? What should we be expecting? And how can we go about monitoring that?
Okay. So each time you make a small, subtle change to your nutrition, so whether calorie up, calorie down, or manipulating the percentage of the macronutrients, more protein, more carb, less carb, all that stuff, give yourself about 2 weeks to notice some change. Okay. And you might say, hey, but I don't see the change. I don't see any change. It's going to take a little bit of time for you to. Okay, sometimes you might not see it, but you feel it, and the people around you will say things to you. Okay, and that's also change, right? And it's very subtle. At the end of the day, you are trying to understand and learn about your body, okay? Because the same advice that works for you, it might not work for the next person, okay? So you have to kind of take a bit of interest in your own body to kind of understand it. How does my body react when I eat X, Y, Z and train X, Y, Z? Okay? Did I answer that question? I did. Yeah. Didn't I? Okay. Anything else? Okay, so while you're doing this, some people have asked me about, supplements and